The Gullah Geechee are not African. There may have been a few that came over at some point, and I'm going to prove both, but I'm going to show you they are not African at their inception. If you want to know the truth, you need a first-hand source. The Spaniards were the first persons here who saw and did what they did with the Indians. This is 1539 from Hernando de Soto's expedition, and this is his letter, not a book, his letter that was translated, so his words directly, and some of the people he was with. Here within the letter, it says that he tasked the auditor, Lucas Vasquez from Alian, Lucas Vasquez, coming from Santo Domingo to go down to the Lucayos Islands where the Indians told him to go. Now, what you're going to see is they couldn't pronounce the name of these islands. One pronounced Oritza, and they couldn't pronounce it, so they called it Chicora. They couldn't pronounce it. Instead of pronouncing it that, they called it that. Also, instead of pronouncing the other one, Guale, they called it Gualdape. That word, Gualdape, only exists because they could not pronounce Guale. Now, Guale has a map of its area. This is Georgia on the East Coast. There's also the Guale Island, which they're talking about, these islands, okay? The book is specific. It talks about the islands, talks about the Guales, and they're coming from through Florida, making their expedition up north of Florida on the East Coast through Georgia, okay? Here's another map, same area, the Guale area, but this shows you where it's close to the Ogeechee River. That's where you get the name, Guale Geechee, Guale Geechee, Gullah Geechee. Or better yet, the Guales that lived by the Geechees. Some people said that there were people called Geechees that lived on the other side of the river, and there were the Guales. That could be true too. Either way, they are now one cohesive group that were the Guale Geechees. This is the only place in the world that you're going to see this combination of words, not over there in Africa, in Sierra Leone. Now again, Lucas Vasquez is the one that went with the Indians, and they showed him where Guale was, and they couldn't pronounce it, so they called it Gualdape. To not be able to pronounce something somebody told you, somebody had to tell you. The Indians told them it was called Guale. Why is that important? Because when you go to the history of current day McIntosh County, which used to be the Guale area, it's called McIntosh County. McIntosh was a $5 Indian slave owner that came over later. He was not a real Indian. He came over. The area that is called Guale now, he took it over and called it McIntosh County after the Spaniards, but it was also called San Miguel del Gualdape. Many of you have heard about San Miguel de Gualdape. Tariq Nasheed talks about it all the time. Who founded San Miguel de Gualdape? Lucas Vasquez, the same one in the De Soto letter. But remember, Gualdape is Guale because they couldn't pronounce it. So the name is San Miguel of Guale or Gualdape. Because they couldn't pronounce Guale, so they called it Gualdape. The Indians told them about it. The reason why I harp on that is because on here, you see where Lucas Vasquez came with 600 people, and they said that that's the first time so-called African slaves came, but that's not true. But it says San Miguel del Gualdape. They said the San Miguel del Gualdape, so this area was San Miguel del Gualdape before it was McIntosh County. So it was owned by the Spaniards, as we know, because that area was New Spain, until the colonies came down and then they started moving in, which McIntosh then took it over. But it says that when Lucas Vasquez landed, he saw no natives. But we know that's impossible because the word Gualdape only exists because it's a mispronunciation of Guale, the Guale Indians. And then you got to watch out for sources like this because not all of them are correct. These are .org sources, not .gov, so they're not vetted. They could have typos, misinterpretations, whatever. You got this. Founded in 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Alian San Miguel del Gualdape, which is McIntosh County, right? Where did it get its name? It says the town's name likely came from its founding on or around September 29th, the feast of Saint Michael, the archangel. And Gualdape refers to the name of the region where the town was located. Well, yes, Gualdape was referred to the name of the region, but that's a mispronunciation. The name of the region is Guale, according to the Indians in the book, as well as according to the maps that were around at the time, which there's several different maps. But on top of that, when you go and look up, McIntosh County is still there, right? But guess what else is inside of McIntosh County? There is a Guale preserve. A Guale preserve, not a Gullah preserve. They're preserving the original Indian names. Guale Preserve. When you jump down on the Google Streets map, you can see the actual name. Now, if you type, well, this is also the Guale Preserve. It's pretty much been whittled down to one area, but it's still on that island, that same island that's listed on the damn map. The whole area was Guale, but they also had a particular island that they for sure said Guale, and that was the island that the Hernando de Soto and them went to. Now, you got people that would say that these people were Africans. Some Africans came over, very little. I'm going to show you through the slave population form on the government website, census.gov, how they actually say that not that many Africans were here. When you jump down to the nativities section, it starts to tell you right here. It says, it is almost impossible to distinguish between the native-born and foreign-born slaves, and no facts were collected upon the subject except for the schedules of mortality. From what it appears, the slaves, except from some extent Africans, were very generally considered to be of the nativity of the place of deceased. A few slaves had been introduced into the country up until 1808, and these chiefly into Florida, previously in 1819, whatever, into Louisiana. It would be necessary to look into the class over 60 years of age for the survivors of the original Africans. This was in 1850, and they're looking for the original Africans that survived. The whole number of slaves in 1850 over 60 years of age was 114,742. Of these, no one familiar with the South would admit that more than 8,000 or 10,000 were Africans. Let me get close. No one would believe that more than 8,000 or 10,000 were Africans out of the 114,000 people over age 60 in 1850. Why is that important? Because on this page of it, the importations mostly happened between 1718 to 1808. That's your 300,000 importations. Now, this says that some of them came from the British West Indies, talks about Africans. It really opens your mind to a lot. But right here, they said you have to look back for the people of 68 years of age or over for the original Africans, because this is 1850, and they're looking from people who are from 1808 and before who are still alive. So they're talking about out of these people, out of this 300,000 people, 114 of them are still living, and out of those 114 that were fresh off the boat, if they came from a boat, only 8,000 to 10,000 of them were Africans. Now, back to debunking this bullshit. Here's another website that talks about the Spanish horses that are in the area in Georgia, and it goes into the history of it. And it tells you, because I know in the letter of Hernando de Soto, it talks about the horses. They brought hundreds of horses in order to make their expeditions. But it says, after weeks of searching for a suitable location, they established the short-lived San Miguel del Gualdape, or Guale, colony. The name derived from the Guale tribe, who lived there, and St. Michael the Archangel. St. Michael is San Miguel, okay? I know that because they use San Miguel for multiple different things. This is another map, talks about San Miguel de Pensacola or something. Pensacola. Wow, I just got that one myself. I've had this map for a little bit. Pensacola, San Miguel de Pensacola. The other one is San Miguel de Gualdape. Okay, de Gualdape is Guale. San Miguel of Guale, San Miguel of Pensacola. So in order for you to tell me that these people are African, you would have to show me proof positive that prior to the 1500s or 1600s, that these people in Africa had names such as Gullah and Geechee. That's all I care about. If you can find me either something that is close to being Guale or Gullah that is pronounced over there in that time period, or something that says about a Geechee in Africa in that time period, I still won't believe you, because tell you the truth, I already know not that many of y'all came over here. But I do know that there's an American colonization society that was set to transport black people from America back to Africa. Not back, I'm sorry, to Africa. Why? Because you wouldn't send people back, you know what I'm saying, to some place you just brought them from, just for the hell of it. And this was in 1816. Slavery didn't end until 1865. So they were sending black Indians to Africa. Even in one of these books, this book is, I forgot what this, some kind of record, but transported to the penal colonies of Africa, a bunch of Cubans, okay? This is just in the Cuba area. But I'm running out of time. So this is another map of the expedition of De Soto, and look at all the tribe names that's there. Look at all the tribe names. There isn't just one major tribe there. And I've pretty much run out of my 10 minutes, so if you don't get it, then you probably never will. But in my opinion, the Gullah Geechee tribe is one of the first tribes to try to be erased by Africans.